Howdy folks, the deck we're playing tonight is my attempt to brew up a red-black Sanguine Brushstroke aggro vampires deck that it goes about it slightly differently from some of the other red-black vampires lists that I've seen. I'm personally a proponent of the idea that if you're playing this deck, it should be because you're trying to beat control, and so you should try to beat control with it. And as a result, I've got it set up so that the main deck is actually just the straight 60-card post board against Esper and against blue-red. So no removal, every card is a threat, makes blood, drains the opponent, pressures their lands like Town-razer Tyrant. And I've been liking how that idea has played so far. Whether or not it's good enough against other aggro and mid-range lists, I think is something that we'll have to see through time. I'm not experienced enough with playing Brushstroke in mid-range or aggro matchups to know how effectively Voldaren Bloodcaster, Sanguine Brushstroke combos just totally invalidate creature combat. Because there is a threat that something like Helena and Elena or just a random 4/4 can brick a lot of our early creatures, especially because we don't have removal, at least not main deck. And to be honest, our color combination doesn't have access to super efficient removal. I'm kind of spoiled by green having access to Blizzard Brawl that's removal and actually kind of tempo positive, as opposed to stuff like Infernal Grasp that can answer Helena but doesn't necessarily come down on the early turns and remove blockers without costing you your ability to play your creatures on curve. So the entirety of the sideboard is stuff that either I think is good against other creature decks like Bloodvial Purveyor, that just stonewalls most creatures that aren't getting pump spells put on them, and then eventually swings to end the game really fast, or Sorin and Lolth, which hopefully gives us some game against white-black mid-range lists that otherwise are just going to removal and 2-for-1 us into oblivion. Hopefully. Similarly, Morbid Opportunist, I think might have a chance against white-black mid-range lists. They do have to sacrifice a lot of their creatures to play some of their removal, and maybe that turns this into something that's hard for them to 2-for-1. We'll see. Notably, the thing that I'm not playing here are cards like Duress and Go Blank, and that's because I think those cards are pretty strictly supposed to be played against control. Supposed to, in quotations. And I don't like the idea of mixing strategies against control decks. I feel like your game plan against control should either be that your plan is to be the more aggressive deck and kill them, or that you're going to kill them via denying them resources, in which case Duress and Go Blank are fine, but I don't think you should be siding into that plan when you're playing an aggro deck. You are better off just playing a 3-drop that attacks their life total than a 3-drop that attacks their hand, because if you draw a mix of the two, then you accomplished neither. Their life total only matters if it's 0, and their hand size only really matters if it's functionally 0. If you have more threats than they have answers. And I don't think Go Blank accomplishes that as often as people think it does. So this is an attempt to see if that works.